Hello everyone, it's Margaret here with 60 and Me. Thank you for being here today, wherever you are in this amazing world of ours. We have women in 150 countries, and I love that we've got such diversity and amazing people just everywhere on the planet. But today I want to talk about something that's a common thread for probably most of us, and that is that we have a hobby or two or three, something that we love to do, and something that gives us pleasure and gives us a chance to express ourselves. Now, historically and traditionally, maybe even with lots of stereotypes associated, older women have been considered fairly limited in their hobbies, like reading, knitting, sewing, cooking. But you'd be surprised the things that women are doing these days. And I want to take a minute to just do this fun little video on what we learned when we asked our 60 and Me community, and also some research that we've done and some of our bloggers have written about just the unusual things that women are getting up to. So grab yourself a cup of tea. I've got my English breakfast. It's almost finished. It's my mug of tea. And just have a sit down, have a chat, because it's going to be a fun one. And I bet you'll identify some of your own hobbies, but you'll also get some ideas, which is the whole point of this. So, like I said, cooking, sewing, shopping, reading, those are the things that most people associate with older women. But what about things like, well, even the more, generalist ones like, the grandchildren, looking after grandkids, looking after, elderly parents, because these can be hobbies too. We can make them fun. We can make these events and opportunities to enjoy our, things that we love together, even if it's reading a book together or just sharing some music together. That in itself is a hobby. But there's lots of things you can do out in the world, like exploring parks and festivals and traveling. These are things that for me are hobbies. My train obsession is fairly well known in this community, and I take any opportunity to jump on a train, and it is something that I do. It's not a craft or something that I make, but it's an experience. And maybe that's the way to start looking at hobbies, is the experiences and not just things that you create or make, like a painting or a book or something like that. So things like, I'm looking at my list here because I wanted to make sure I don't miss any, because there's some really cool ones. The first one that I just happened to look at was stand-up paddling. Does anybody do that? But I think this is a category of hobby which is to do with exercise, like getting out and paddling, kayaking, swimming, any kind of sport, Nordic walking, triathlon. I have a very good friend, Bev, who is in her, I think she's 60 now, but she's like doing triathlons, and that's kind of her hobby, marathons, that kind of thing. Then you've got the ones that are more subdued. So let's look at some hobbies that you've told us these are your hobbies. Flower arranging. I love flower arranging, actually. Bonsai, flower arranging. I just appreciate that so much. Even fake flowers. Doesn't need to be a real flower, but flower arranging is one that people do. Making cards for all occasions. I've always thought that this was a huge opportunity for someone in an older community that understands the words and the gesture and the nuance of an older person's thinking, and to do cards that are focused on those. So this person makes cards for all occasions. Also, scrapbooking. Anybody else into scrapbooking? I actually really love scrapbooking, not in the kind of formal vintage way. I'll show you something actually that I made, because there's several people on TikTok and also Instagram that do really cool folding with paper. And I did this one, which is really cool. I have this book of mandalas, and I bought 2 copies of it. It's paper book back, and it's like a little pouch, so you can put things in there. You can like stick a little note in there or something if you wanted to do that, and it's really, really cool. But paperwork like this is one of my hobbies. I really love this kind of thing. But, scrapbooking or just vintage painting, vintage paper collecting, and also painting. And painting in general is a big category, but you've got classic paintings. People have asked me the other way about my painting behind me here. This is actually by a woman called Anne Martin McCool, and I bought it when I lived in Seattle. And I just love her work. I have a couple of pictures of hers, but but beautiful paintings, or just like crazy stuff. Like there's this thing called scrap painting now. Have you ever seen this? Where basically you do like take a palette or a piece of paper and you put dots of acrylic paint on it, and then you take like a scraper, like from your bathroom, the kind that they clean the shower with, and then you scrape it down the ink, and it gives the most amazing patterns. So that kind of, scrap painting, diamond painting is really, really popular with a lot of our women. And that's another one that people love. Another one is stained glass. Anybody do stained glass? I wish I could find a stained glass teacher. I know you can't do this online. This is when you've got to go and work in someone's, factory or in some place, workshop, and actually learn. But I love stained glass. Maybe that's why I like that picture so much. It's just got a stained glass feeling to it. So stained glass. Another one that I absolutely am a big fan of is photography. I take my camera everywhere and go take pictures, and so photography is definitely a hobby for me. People do, I mentioned knitting, but it doesn't have to just be for scarves and random things. It can be for good. So a lot of women said they knit for preemie units at the hospital, or for, I think she's got one, I think, called Operation Jet Children, which is, this particular one who replied. This, by the way, are some of the comments that came from a little survey we did a year ago about hobbies. So I'm just kind of gathering them all up. Surfing the internet. I spend a lot of my time doing that. And it is a hobby because I make it a hobby. I don't just mindlessly surf. I choose a topic, or I read an article on something that I know nothing about. And I just love it. I love doing that. It's really, really educational and fun. Let's see, spiritual activities. If you go to church or to church activities, Bible reading or scripture of any kind, Buddhist meetings, meditation sessions, these could be hobbies that you do too, experiences that you could consider a hobby, a thing you do. Line dancing. I'm just reading my list here. Making beaded jewelry. Now, I did not make this one actually, but someone did. And beading and beaded jewelry is another big one. Gardening. That's huge for so many people. I know so many people that love gardening. It just gives them such an escape from the world. And there's something about planting and seeing it grow. I've just planted, it's a magic bean from my grandsons. We planted it together. I think I got it at like the Tiger shop or somewhere. And you put it in the soil and then it grows, and it's like this big now. It's huge. Yeah. Anyway, that's another thing. Crocheting's mentioned. Learning a new language was mentioned. And there's so many free, is it Babbel? I think maybe you have to pay for that. There's a couple of them that aren't. And you can just learn free, or at least to a certain level. And that's kind of all the fun, even if you can just speak a few, 10, 15 words. Knitting, I mentioned, patchwork and quilting. Oh my gosh, I wasn't such a big fan of that until I went to a museum in St. Gallen in Switzerland and saw a quilting exhibition. I mean, I would never have the patience, to be honest, to do quilting, but if you do, it's a great hobby, and it's so, so intricate and beautiful. Yoga is a hobby, of course, and a few like other Pilates and belly dancing and pole dancing. Why not? They're all there for you to enjoy. But let's get into some weird ones. Okay, now I think we've got an article that someone one of our bloggers wrote called Graffiti Grandmas. I'm pretty sure this was an article. I'll try to find the link to it so that I don't, it was really more of a list of hobbies based on the experience of these grandma graffiti artists in Portugal. And these are women in their 50s, 60s, and their grandmothers who are painting, graffiti. They're actually going out and painting street walls. Like, that's big art in certain parts of Europe, in Spain and Portugal. But these graffiti artists were featured in this article, in this story, and it's really, really cool. They're doing some really amazing things. I know a woman who is a DJ. She's in her 60s and she's a DJ. There was one woman who I think passed away, unfortunately, that she was also a DJ. And what a great hobby. Fantastic. Playing any kind of instrument, to be honest, is a hobby and challenge. But also blacksmithing, calligraphy. How about home brewing? Now, I know a woman who's in her 60s who makes different liqueurs, and also does the things you put in them I forget what you call them, like embellishments. So there's a word for them in drinking. Like you make a drink and then you put like dried orange or something but she makes these little bouquets of different flavors. Falconry, someone said. I don't think I would want a falcon on my arm, but I did the monkeys in Bali. You saw my picture. I did actually hold a monkey. So I guess you do think, and a parrot. I remember I had that, I should leave that picture for you. But you do things, I guess, when you're on holiday, but that wasn't really a hobby. Well, travel was my hobby. That was part of the travel experience. It was really fun. Glass blowing, I think I've mentioned stained glass, so it's similar. Geocaching. I'll close on a couple of these because that apparently is one that's really popular these days. And this is where you, you go on these trips, like you're given directions, and then you actually go out and geocache. Like you have to find geographically the location where there's a note that tells you where to go to the next thing. Amazing. So geocaching is apparently a big deal. But I'm sure I've missed like 50 really beautiful hobbies that you all have and I haven't mentioned. So please leave your comments in the section below and tell us, are any hobbies that you do that maybe are more unusual that somebody would go, oh, not you're too old for that, not that at all, but just like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. Because we're unique, we're talented, we are out there having fun. So what are your hobbies? What are the things you love to do? Thank you so much for being here, everybody, and sharing your life, part of your life with me. I share mine with you and hope that you enjoy it. But I do appreciate you so much, and I really do love you all more than you'll know ever. Take good care, everybody. Sending you lots and lots of love. Bye for now.